Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Fauzan, and I'm from the Environmental and Occupational Health Program in University Science Malaysia. In this presentation, I would like to introduce all of you to HIRARC, or otherwise known as Hazard Identification, Risk Assessment, and Risk Control. Hazard identification is the process which is used to identify potential hazards. It may be from work equipment, work processes, etc. Furthermore, hazard identification categorizes those risks according to their nature in order to make the process more systematic. There are three main categories of hazards according to DOSH, or the Department of Safety and Health Malaysia. The first are health hazards, second are safety hazards, and the third are environmental hazards. We also have to pay a lot of attention to the techniques that are used in identifying the hazards and how we actually categorize those hazards. The next step would be to assess the risks. Risk assessment is the overall process or method where we properly analyze and prioritize the risks to decide what actions need to be taken and how urgent it is to take those actions. We need to take into consideration the probability and the severity of the risks themselves, which we combine together in a matrix where we can decide the priority of the actions that need to be taken. This is an example of the risk matrix which was made by DOSH Malaysia, where there is a row for severity and the column for likelihood. The risk rating for a particular hazard is measured by multiplying the likelihood to the severity of that hazard. The risk varies from number 1 to number 25, number 1 being the lowest level of risk and 25 being the highest level of risk. Here you can see that there is a description for every likelihood rating and every severity rating. These descriptions help assessors and employees understand what those actual ratings mean, and the description of these parameters differ from company to company. This diagram describes the priority of action that needs to be taken for hazards depending on their risk rating, ranging from low, which is 1 to 4, medium, which is 5 to 12, and high from 15 to 25. As well as the action description, which denotes the priority of the actions that will be taken. The last and most important step would be the actual risk controls that we make. The first and most important point that I'd like to make is that control measures for every hazard or every risk has to be suitable in order for it to effectively work. There are 4 ways of how we can control hazards. The first way is to actually control the hazards at the source. The second way is by engineering controls, which is through the pathway of the hazard. The third way is that we can introduce administrative controls. And the last measure we can take is by providing personal protective equipment, or PPE in short. After implementing these risk controls, we must also develop standard operating procedures so that employees can understand and properly utilize the system that we have put in place. There should also be a monitoring program to evaluate how effective the risk controls that are taken are. So those were the steps needed to conduct a HIRARC activity. Thank you for watching, everyone, and take care.